I am hiding the viewers. Viewers hidden. There we go. Thank you. I'm only gonna advertise in, oh, I need to get out of Discord. Bye, guys. Hi, guys. I'm finally in it. I started this. I started this stream an hour early to fix bugs, and I didn't get anything solved until just now. I am so relieved. I am on it. Okay. Hi, my name's Evan. I am so pumped to show you this panel. And, yeah, let me finish getting things set up because, right now, I just need to make a little announcement in my own personal stream Discord server, that I'm going live. Stream announcements. And I also wanted to do Tumblr, too, so let me do that. I'm not doing Twitter, though. And it's just we're live. And it's good to see you all. How's SAHCON been treating everyone?
You guys got to think, I was fishing for a long time.
Oh yeah. We still got our alerts working. Let's go. Woo, that's a lot of bits. Oh, that's points. Oops. I got fished. Every single Homestuck character is divergent, and at least half of them are 2E. Yeah. Don't spoil my... Don't spoil my panel for you guys. Alright, let's go to Discord, copy and paste the URL, and then drop it in my funny little Tumblr account. Yeah! So, my stream normally looks different than all this. It usually starts like 5 minutes early, and then I've got my, like, starting soon screen with art that people have made from me. And it's got this cute little, in the top right, little box with all the notifications I've gotten. And at the end, we share a video about monkeys. How we do. So, just to give you guys a little sneak peek into what it's usually like around here. I'm using up all my spoons within this hour. So, I might as well just get started. Yeah. So, who's about... Oh, there's lag? Oh, there's some dropped frames. I don't need that. Who said it needed to be at 30, 60 frames per second? Lag issues. Thank you for the, thank you for letting me know. Yeah, there's about 40, yeah, 560 dropped frames. Hardware acceleration needs to be turned off. Settings. Yeah, can somebody walk me through this? Stream output. Had to refresh. Does refreshing help? Because, let's see, hotkeys, advanced. But okay, is it, okay, if refreshing works, I don't need to actually go in and change anything, do I? Because, alright, if it's fine, then just refresh. That's all. Like, I don't want to waste any more time because I want to make sure that I get this done, and I only timed half of it. And I am already 11 minutes behind schedule, so... Let's get this rolling. And, oh, oops, wrong way. Wrong way. Alright, how about this? Can everyone see this right now? Alright. I'm just gonna jump right into it. Click. Hello, everyone. So, my name is Evan. I use he, him pronouns. And I'm going to be your animation teacher for today. So, that is the introduction that I give everyone in the class once I say hi to them. I've been saying it so much for the past 3 years, and I think it is a fun way to introduce myself to you guys. So, this, in this panel, we're going to examine the personalities, sensory motor skills, language development, and deductive reasoning of Homestuck's beta kids. In doing so, we'll answer the thesis question, are the beta kids written accurately for their age? So, again, I'm usually an animation instructor, but for a full-time job that I'm trying to get, I am trying to go for a middle school art teacher position. I've already done some practicum work. I've been shadowing inside of a school and doing substitute teaching so I can get some practice in before actually going forward and, doing it. Yeah, before actually going into it. So I have a lot of experience with this. And, oh yeah, in addition to this, I teach art at an art summer camp. And that's going to be from the ages of 4 to 13 years old that I teach. I've got a lot of stories from all these different experiences and, just like, I'm still learning constantly. And I've got a good understanding of, like, how everyone's development goes in these stages. So I think I'm pretty qualified on the subject. So that was supposed to take 5 minutes, and I'm really happy I just breezed right through it. So, let me do one more thing before I check chat. So if there are any like hard-pressing questions, I'd ask you to write it down, save it for the end, and then we can, then I'll answer it at the end, because I've got some time dedicated to that at the end. Now, whoa. And then I'm gonna make that super bold, super bold quote. We are starting now. Reblog. Okay. Alright, good. I'm also gonna open up Twitch in my phone, but don't expect me to see every single message. I don't know how many people are in chat. I might have a heart attack when I open it up on my phone. This is how I normally do it. I'm sure there's easier ways, but, you know, this is how I go. Anyways, let me jump right into the panel. So, let us talk about childhood development. So, the most important thing that I want to keep in mind when we're talking about childhood development and the psychology and theories behind it is that it's really grounded upon, like, a really long time, like hundreds and hundreds of years of racism, sexism, and ableist frameworks. The development of the study of the origins of knowledge is based on the Binet-Simon intelligence scale, which led to the IQ test. And it was originally made to see which students need more academic and support with schools. Over time, it kind of spiraled and led to a lot of bad things, like the eugenics movement. Oh yeah. And it's flawed in its creation because the studies that were done on it to create it were conducted on white American school children. So all the questions and evaluations that's done for this, it was brought around, it focuses on like the standard that is just like not, it is like one small culture. And it's like, if you're outside of this culture, yeah, it just does not apply to you and your answers are skewed outside of it entirely. Also, fun fact, the ABCs around the world, I can't say about every country, but a lot of countries, the word A, or the letter A, apple, is associated with the letter A, but a lot of countries don't have apples, like, growing in their environment. A lot of them have stuff like mangoes, and they might have never seen an apple in their life before, but they still have to learn it based on this visual, like a cartoon apple, and they're like, what the fuck is an apple? Yeah, that's another thing to keep in mind. So, Piaget's studies. Why are we measuring intelligence this way? It's like it's a French word. I can't ever pronounce it right. But why are we analyzing this media through his studies? Well, your other option is Freud, and we all know that Freud was a bitch. Janaya said this, by the way. So you might have heard about Freud before, but trust me when I say nothing will prepare you for, like, learning about him from an academic perspective. They force you to study his work, even though everyone, including the professor, hates him. Piaget, on the other hand, like, he still provides a basis for the measurement of childhood development. So before his studies, children were widely accepted and believed to be like miniature adults. That's why we got like factory worker 10-year-olds and child slavery everywhere. It's still the case in a lot of countries, but generally speaking, we're moving away from that, or at least within that mindset. So Piaget's research shows that children have different stages in their childhood development that bring them to adulthood. And there are 4 stages, which is why I chose it for Homestuck, kind of. It just makes it a lot more simple, and also, I love the Force. I love this Force. Buckle up, everyone. This is the sensor motor stage. So this stage is from ages 0 to 2. The world around you is known by your senses and movements. You're learning to grab things, walk, and to say your first words. So it's a lot of the firsts for your childhood. Baby Jade is going to make a lot of appearances in this PowerPoint. I hope you're ready, because I just love her so much. Oh boy. There's a little bit of lag still. Try refreshing. Try refreshing. That's all I can say. Piaget, it could have been. Grandpa Harley would use children. He's probably have. No, we'll get into that. Trust me, we'll talk about Grandpa Harley. All right, next up, we have the pre-operational stage. So this stage is from ages 2 to 7. So language development and symbolic play just like skyrocket during this time. During this time, you also don't have any understanding or low understanding of the conservation of substance. That's why steel is heavier than feathers. And as an example for the symbolic play, my nephew, he's 4 years old, he would splash imaginary milk on me repeatedly and like over and over and over again. And then like after a while he'd get bored and then he would just tell me, now you splash imaginary milk on me. And I'm like, what the heck? Yeah. So it's also important to note that during this period, children don't understand the concept of death very well in an average childhood environment. If they've experienced death for the first time, like once during this stage, they're not going to understand it as much. Yeah, I gotta specify imaginary milk, otherwise that's gonna be embarrassing for me. So the next stage is the concrete operational stage. And here it is. It is from ages 7 to 12, and it is the logical thinking stage, and you start to struggle with the abstract mind. You're understanding the conservation of mass and numbers, a lot of different peoples. You also consider other people's feelings and viewpoints. So the reason I chose this picture is because while I was rereading Homestuck for this, I saw Dave Sprite, and John get into a fight because John called Dave Sprite the fake Dave or something like that. And then John was like, hey Dave, I accidentally called Dave Sprite not the real Dave, and I think he's mad at me. And Dave's like, no, he's fine, lol. And you know what? John went ahead and apologized anyways, because that's just a part of his own personal code of ethics. And I love that for him. He's like awesome for that. Next up, we've got our formal operational stage. This is from ages 12 to death. Or, I don't know, maybe stop at some point. Maybe you just stop growing as a person. So this is the abstract, theoretical, or deductive reasoning stage. This is where you start to think deeply about different subjects like philosophy, and also basic things like, is the glass half full or half empty? Half empty, ooh, stuff like that. Rosa Lalonde, Autism Sweep, that's right. So this is the big brain era, basically. So all of these operational stages are easy to comprehend compared to other theories. Because it's so broad, it gives us the opportunity to encompass more cultures into it, but also leave some room for the idea that, okay, not everyone's going to be at this stage at different points. Like, there is a possibility that you could always just be at the sensor motor stage, and that's fine. Like, that's okay. It's not unrealistic for that to happen to people, or to have people develop that way. And also at the same time, some people have advanced language skills from a really young age, like 6, and can form complete sentences. With all of this in mind, it sets a framework for the thesis question: are they written accurately for their age? One last thing before we go into it. There's a socio-cultural theory that's going to come into play with the analysis. His theory is that Lev Vygotsky has a theory that the development of our knowledge construction is dependent on the people and environment that we live in. So our family, school, media, religious institutions, community groups, all that stuff helps account for different cultures. So that's enough about my psychology overview. Let's talk about Homestuck. So, boop, 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 boop. So, we'll be focusing on the beta kids because they're the age range I'm used to working with, and they're humans, so we can apply human development to them. So, so we're also just going to be sticking to the first 5 acts, because everything beyond that, they start to actually age. And it's, it provides a lot more variables that I can't really include. So, when analyzing the beta kids' development, it's important to remember their developmental origins, the very moment they're born, sometimes even before. So let's start with the parent of all the beta kids. Yeah, the parent, singular, John Egbert. So, first of all, I'd like you all to look at these babies. Look at how cute they are. Look at Jade tugging on John's pant leg. Her little arms are swinging around. They're so cute. John's getting tickled by a kitty. And Jane is on his head. He's breaking glass and Dave's climbing everywhere. Jake is just slapping the floor. And, oh, Rose and Roxy. Okay. Let me get a drink of water. I love them, but we have to keep going. All right. Seriously. Let's go. Let's keep going. So the first hour of life is also known as the golden hour. This is extremely important because, they need to be stabilized out of utero and form bonds with other human beings. And as soon as John made all of these babies, he played with them and unknowingly engaged with them in a developmental method called skin-to-skin contact. It's where babies and their parents touch each other skin to skin for an hour before being touched by anyone else besides their family, friends, or even doctors after delivery. So it helps thermoregulation, stabilizes their blood sugar, and it shows that the contact during this hour leaves them with better sleep and growth patterns than those who are immediately taken away for tests. Some hospitals encourage both parents, regardless of gender, to do this too. However, there is something else that John neglected during this time, and that is something very important to babies, and that's breastfeeding. And John did not do this for obvious reasons, but they need human milk to protect against gastrointestinalitis, ear infections, respiratory infections, bronchitis, and meningitis. Self-explanatory. Also, babies need food to survive. So, another thing, babies start out with a lot of reflexes that are just very basic. So, they are able to grasp things, but it's rudimentary. Their tiny hands can only... Oh boy. Let's see. Fresh chat, string chat, and... Okay, hello?
Hello, we're back. Whew, I got scared for a moment there. Hello, everyone. All right, so I'm gonna go quickly through this. So they can't grab things very easily, and their only sort of abilities to move their limbs include like their startling response when their arms and legs fling outwards when you spook them. So they can't do much more than this. They can't sit up. They can't. They don't have developed neck muscles to be able to hold their own head up. They can't sit and crawl for at least a month. So what does this mean for our theory? They are all unrealistic. None of them should be alive. That is the end. They do not act like kids based on the circumstances of their birth. Jane is sitting up in that hat. John Egbert is crawling. Dave is riding a pony, and Jake is holding 2 guns. This is unacceptable. So that's the end of my panel. Thank you, everyone. I really hope you had a good time. Just kidding. So we are doing this panel, and the way that we are going to be doing this is we are going to be practicing our suspension of disbelief. So to suspend your disbelief, we're just going to chalk it up to them being born through ectobiology, and they were born at like a month or so. So yeah, they also spawned in with glasses and diapers. You know how unrealistic this is. Awesome. They also rode a meteor and hit Earth, miraculously staying alive in the process. So how about the point onwards from that? Where do we go from here? Let's start from the beginning and start from the first... it's just endlessly loading. Oh boy. It is endlessly loading for me as well. Alright, let's see. This is what I was worried about. This is why it took me a freaking hour to start. Try reloading the page? Well, it needs to reload for me. Alright, so let's just start with our first character, John Egbert. So, on the top left corner of the stream, we have John's very first words in the comic. Not his first goo goo gaga word. So I wanted to include it because first impressions are everything, and it gives us a basis to have our dialogue check. So I think it passes really easily. I have my students write a quick reflection of their art for my art class sometimes, and this is the response that I would get a lot of the times. The shortest response I've ever gotten for those things was IDK. It's like, why'd you make this art? IDK. Okay, thanks. This is the stuff I have to deal with. Like, I prefer if you say, I made this art because I had to, or I had to. Oh, and I'm like, okay, you're honest. Thank you. Tops. Yeah, part of the slide is cut off. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. I'll move it down a bit. Thank you for the heads up. So, slide, VC face, slide, and whoop whoop. Okay. Who cares if there's a little darkness? There we go. Alright, that should be visible to everyone now. Yippee! Alright. Yep, he is accurately written in terms of his dialogue. So now let's start with John's dad, because parents are all very influential on their child's development, just like we emphasized earlier with John being the parent to everyone. So let's go with John's parent. Adopted, of course. So this is Dad Egbert. He has an authoritative parenting style, so that might seem a little bit scary at first, but it's pretty average if you ask me. At least in my experience, what I've seen, it's a mixed bag. People don't always fit into these boxes. So on average, for Dadbert, at least, he responds to John's needs and wishes, explains the reasons why he does certain things, and expects mature behavior for John. He enforces rules, but also encourages independence and help him reach his full potential. John also lived in a suburban neighborhood, middle class, with lots of opportunities to interact with people outside of the beta kids and his dad. So his socialization within larger society could have been assumed to be good, but then again, I haven't gotten to know my neighbors within my own apartment when I lived in the city, and at home too. And I live sort of like on the edge of rural and suburb, so rural, yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, it really depends. Sometimes you're just a shut-in, but at least he knows that there are other people here. Maybe there's just a spurb. So he has a lot of his upbringing and his socioeconomic status led to him having a lot of opportunities for growth that other kids didn't have. So let's talk more about Dad's relationship with John. Okay, so it's like it really defines a lot of his early arc, and it's interesting to see how John's childhood is really the textbook typical childhood. I'm putting that in quotes there because it's Homestuck, and what we mentioned earlier about biases in psychology. And like overall, John has, in terms of his development, John has a literal textbook behavior of pushback on his parents' values, and he values his friendships over his adult relationships. That's something that I keep in mind when I teach my students, especially when they're just like really annoying. Like the reason people hate middle schoolers so much is because they're going through this developmental stage, and that's just a part of life. Everyone's gonna push back at some point. That's why they call it a rebellious stage. And the annoying middle schooler, you see, that's just their rebellious stage. They're being annoying. It's a part of life. Get over it. You might not like it, and I don't, but it's just what happens. So because of this rebellion, it's also why he fights over Dad about things as simple as cake. It's also interesting that he has that fight because, as we'll see later, John has these fights and animosities towards his dad, even though, like, he's incredibly, like, loving towards him. And John might even have these fights towards Dad because, you know, he wants to feel like he fits in with the rest of his friends who actually do have legitimate fights with their parents and their family members. So, yeah. I also feel like Dad Egbert's desire to bake so many cakes and, like, give so many nice things to him is reflected of his desire to hold on to John's younger years. Because I see that a lot in my parents. And I love to see the love that John's dad has for him. Like, champ, you can do anything if you put your mind to it. I believe in you. And he just litters these notes everywhere, knowing that John's gonna find them someday. It's so sweet. Also, this slide, I put it in here, and I forgot what I was going to say. I think that he was just, like, silly, messing around kind of deal. I don't actually think it's any sort of abuse. It's kind of like the same thing as, like, going ooga booga booga to your family. This next slide is the same vein. I don't know where I was going with this, but look how small his legs are. Oh, boy. Yeah. He's got so small. He's so small. Oh, Homestuck would be if, like, they portrayed abuse in a non-comedic way. Well, they kind of do that, well, we're focusing on Act 5 of Homestuck. So let's keep it here, you know? Alright, so here we go. We got, another section. So remember when we were talking about with the ages of John just like praying, I think it was like, which stage was it? I'm supposed to know this. Pre-operational stage. There's a symbolic play that happens a lot in this. Like John over here is just having the best time reenacting scenes of movies. And of course that fits within the development of the pre-operational stage. And you can have these developments keep and continue to happen. It's normal and healthy to do that. He is playing pretend in a healthy amount. He has passions. He is the sillies.
It is generally a healthy childhood. At least I think so. Look at that. So sweet. So sweet. Alright, more onto this. He makes his own choices based on his old morality and code of ethics. Yeah, I already talked about this a little. This part made me tear up. Yeah. So, we can slip through this really quick. This is the more sad version of the John's analysis. So, he has depression. He has mental illness. And you can see that even really early on. It's not something that was like tacked on after the fact or anything like that. He berates himself a lot within the text, you know, the background text. And yeah, he calls himself stupid just a lot. So with all of this in mind, is he written realistically? Yes. The answer is a solid yes. I believe so. And I want to elaborate more on his depression here because within the critique I've seen about John being written unrealistically, not responding to his situations, people downplay his emotional turmoil because it's like, quote, not as bad compared to the rest of the beta kids. The judgment that we make on kids whose trauma is worse can be detrimental to their development and invalidates their emotions, leading to much worse things later in their life. So, also in addition to that, he expresses grief in a way that's like really simple, and really toned down. It's muted because of his depression. That's just something that it does. It dulls your emotions. And when he finally does express his grief, like when he cries learning about Jade's death through, and reading her letter through it, he's immediately confronted with outside influences and he's not allowed to, experience those emotions. He has to keep moving for the plot. Alright, so I'm gonna try and go a little bit faster, just because we are short on time. Let's see, we've got Rose Lalonde. Her first line of dialogue is very complex, flowery, but I really wouldn't put it past her to write like this. And she does do a lot of creative writing, as evidenced in the books underneath her bed. She is a very silly girl, which I feel like sometimes the fandom forgets. And yeah, I forgot I animated this part. So yeah, we're going to talk more about that later. Let's talk about Mom first. We're gonna talk about her autism eventually, guys. So, her mother has a permissive parenting style. So this is a tolerant view of what she does. She accepts a lot of what she does, even when she shows outright aggressive tendencies. And she does. She attacks her mother with knitting needles, like within the first 20 pages of us following Rose's narrative. And it's apparently a regular thing for her. Punishment, Mom punishes Rose very rarely, and she hardly makes any demands or set of rules for Rose. Mom Lalonde doesn't completely fit in the parenting style, because she does have the rule against climbing the stairs of the observatory in the rain. So, that makes sense. Also, in addition to that, she lives in the, Rose and Mom live in the middle of the woods in New York State, self-sufficient and off the grid with power blocks, so she's fairly wealthy. And at one point, the narrator implies that there are a lot of guests that appear in the house, so she doesn't live in complete isolation. Next up, she has a very doting mother. She is a very doting mother, and she spoils her. And Rose sees her motherly acts as an ironic shtick, and she calls it an ironic housewife routine. And in one instance, she remarks on the foolishness of mopping a floor without any water in the mop. But personally, I think that's hilarious, and I would do that as a joke. But you know what? Maybe this is another piece of evidence toward her autism. I was just thinking that right now. I didn't put that in the script. I was like, not understanding her funny little jokes. Having really complex ways of writing things, just because that's the way she is.
I wonder how this happened. Alright. I think that's all I'm gonna talk about with this. Like, you can look at that. She bought a $15,000 frame for a cat picture, bought her a pony, bronzed a vacuum cleaner and put it on a pedestal. What a queen. Next up is her, okay, wait, let's go back a bit. We don't see any ponies, we don't see any wizards other than, like, in the bronze statue one, but, Mom's Lalonde, has, like, so many positive intentions and decorates the house full of wizards in the same way that Dad's, decorates the house full of clowns, as, like, the primary source of decoration for both of them. They are both, like, excessively treating their children and supporting their interests. And I think that's really interesting, that parallel between them and the contrast that Dave and Jade have in that area. So their houses and, like, everything that Mom and Dad do for Rose and John are just completely centered around them. It's like they almost have no sort of, like, deal for themselves. That's why John was so shocked that Dad had a boring business life. Anyways, so alcoholism. We cannot talk about Rose's childhood without talking about this. Even, like, yeah, the basic stuffs. So when I first saw the flash where Rose was going through fighting her mom, I thought that she was just, Mom was attacking Rose with her martini glass. And it's also possible that Mom could have been offering it to her as a way of saying, loosen up, will ya? And that's a little messed up. And it made me, like, rethink how I viewed her alcoholism too. I'm not sure which is worse. But either way, alcohol does lead to more erratic behaviors with parents. And, also, historically, sometimes parents who are abusive give lots of gifts to their kids as a way of apologizing for the harm that they've caused. Intentionally or not. It's a way that they can get around addressing it. Without addressing the root problem. So, because of this behavior, she becomes, like, very impulsive and erratic. There's a line where Kanaya talks about how she loves dangerous women, or something like that. And, yeah, that's really why she gravitated towards Rose, I think. Like, one of the coolest moments I remember for Rose is her flying across her land, blowing up the second gate, and, also heard, like, deconstructing entire islands, like, tearing it apart with magic. So, that could have also been influenced by her mother. That's just another thing. It's the impulsiveness of it all, the destruction of it. So, more into this panel I have. When Rose's mom died, she was emotionally distraught, in pain, and she felt a great loss from it. And was able to express her pain with her friends and with her own mother. Okay, I gotta rephrase that. She was able to feel this sort of pain over losing her mom because she did have an outlet of, like, expressing her frustration and abuse with both her friends, and she lashed out at her mom. So, I'm making gestures that you can't see right now. Rose Lalonde Autism Sweep. More into this, her concerns on, and on the right side of this, and a little bit after she finds out her mom dies, she talks more about her, desire to use the horror terrors to help her, and she has an abstract look on good and evil that aren't as black and white as what Jade feels, as evidence in that conversation. She is absolutely in the stage of, formal operational stage. She's reached that. She's ready. All right. Yeah, I would say more about this. But I think I'm going to go on to the next thing that says, yes, Rose also gets her autism diagnosis because I said so, and also the entire chat's been saying so. So common criticism I've seen of her development is that her knowledge of linguistics is way too advanced for a 13-year-old, but they typically write stories, children's 10 to 12, according to Stanford Health. Write stories, letters, messages, and read a lot. And they can read dense books at this age. Also, in addition to this, autistic individuals have been known to have advanced reading comprehension and writing language skills. So I'm gonna skip this. I'm gonna skip this thing, because again, we're short on time. Next up, let's go with Dave. You know we love analyzing Dave Strider. I'm gonna go as quickly as possible through him to get to the meat of my argument. Yeah. I'll get to the meat of my argument soon. So, this is very accurate dialogue in the top corner. Shoutouts to Hussie Hints, by the way, for some of these images. I love them. Alright, let me take a sip. Let me take a sippy sip. Oh, thank you for sticking around if I went overtime. That means a lot to me. And I'd appreciate it because I did start late. So, let's go on to talking about Bro. No one really didn't see this coming. Authoritarian parenting style. So this is a immediate obedience that he demands from the child. Obedience is the most desirable trait in Dave. And with when conflicts happen, the parent does not consider the child's view and does not try to communicate with them to solve the problem. So, in addition to this, he lives in a high-rise apartment in a big city with a lot of neighbors. But that doesn't guarantee connection. Because I lived in the city, and like I said, I heard gunshots, screaming, and sirens sometimes, and I didn't learn anything about what that was all about. Yeah. So, glossing over that real quick. Born onto Earth on a bile of fire, crushing a pony to death with his own baby ass. The corpse of this beautiful pony has been picked up by Bro as he discovers Dave's crash's site, and he butchers the creature to make a taxidermized bib for him. This is arguably the only badass and nice thing that he has done for Dave. That can be also considered a nice action. Also, this moment right here where he's trying to feed Dave is very cute as well. Let's switch on some more music. Let's do some more jazz. Why not? This is, jazz fusion. Okay. So, Dave's childhood is largely defined by his guardian's abuse towards him. He was regularly beaten up on the rooftop as training, thrown down the stairs, exposed to sex toys, and unwittingly tricked into being filmed in puppet snuff films. You'll find so much analysis of this. But another thing that I want to address when we talk about Dave is the fact that, he, for a lot of the comic, doesn't really express distaste for the way his brother treated him until his death. But even then, it was muted, because, there were moments in his childhood where Bro did nice things for him. He taught him how to DJ. He gave him his first sword. And, there's just the general idea that, okay, if they do the bare minimum, or if they do nice things for me, then they can't be abusive. But that we all know that's not the case, because Mom was abusive, and she got so many ponies and treats for Rose. But that's just the fact. When you're an abuse victim, sometimes you just question it, and you dismiss it. And that's just what happens, unfortunately. Oh, yeah. You're right. He did kind of unlock Flash Step at the age of infant, or maybe 6 months old. So, maybe. I still think Roxy could have also handled him. So, there were other factors preventing the introspection that he had about Dave. Like, for example, Dave's friends reacted really badly to his situation. They joked about it. The only one who actually, Dave was able to open up to about this was Rose. But a lot of the talk that she had about it was her saying, "This is why you're a closeted homosexual." And it's devastating to hear that in the early 2000s. And just outright, even here, Jade is really good about like talking about like, oh, do you want to talk about her feelings? But she interrupts Dave right in the middle of him talking about his feelings. And from a point of view where like I've taught the socialization of boys, the way that they feel and the way that they express sorrow and high emotions, it's really hard for them to explain stuff because they weren't like told how to like identify their emotions with like solid things. I would recommend talking to a healthy gamer about this, or not talking, watching some of his videos about this, because that's where I had some of my evidence for this. But it's not like medical advice, but you know. So that is the there's more stuff I wanted to talk about, but you know, he does a lot of things for his friends as a way of him just like being an abuse survivor, because like, oh man, I'm not gonna go into that one. I really wish that I had time for all this stuff. I'm so cool. I'm so like hard. All right, so is Dave written realistically? I would argue that he is the most realistically written character in terms of his abuse. Though the comic doesn't shy away from him actually dealing with his own emotional trauma from this upbringing, even in Act 5. And I really didn't see that much with Rose in Homestuck proper, and especially not Jade. She did not talk about anything, but again, we're gonna get into that. So, next up. So far, we've had a good 75% of Homestuck characters being written realistically in terms of development. So, let's see if that rings true for Jade Harley. Jade Harley. Look at that cute little message. That's her first message. That is extremely realistic dialogue. Yes, lots of exclamation marks, joy, emotes. She talks as if, like, she definitely types as if she sounds, like, within her own speaking voice. So, yeah. Let's go on to Jade Harley. So, this is a very fun thing to talk about. So, he has the uninvolved parenting style, which is also the uninvolved / neglectful style. Unfortunately, he's dead, so we have no choice in this matter. It is possible that in life he could have been an authoritative parent for Jade. It's based on the evidence of what he's left behind for her, like with JadeBot, and just like general like necessities. But he's definitely shown signs of this kind of uninvolved parenting in life too. All right, I forgot to switch slides. So, yep, he places few demands on the child, takes care of basic needs regardless of that, but's unresponsive to emotional needs and other like stuff like that. Basic stuff like food, it's here for her. And he branches out into different psychologies, like parenting styles with JadeBot. But you could also consider that a need. Like, you don't want your child to sleepwalk off a cliff, especially when you're busy, like, ignoring her, to have dinner dates with 2 stuffed dolls, and then you get shot, and you know you're gonna get shot, because he had this knowledge. He was the only one who actually, like, went to, he's the only one who was in the medium twice. There we go. He was in the medium twice. So, then Jade grew up on an island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean on an active volcano with Beck to raise her. But to be honest, Jade was raising the dog anyways. So this is the first beta kid who also lives outside of America. So the general culture around her, despite living in isolation apart from her poor American internet friends and dog, is going to be different. Her grandpa places cultural importance on firearm use, doesn't shy away from letting her use guns as a toddler, as you can see where Jade almost shoots herself in the face. But it's also important to keep in mind, he died because he did not supervise her. I am just roasting Jade. So in other countries though, it is common practice to have your kids by like age 3, know how to use and like properly and safely use a machete to like prepare foods and like other things when they don't know how to read or like understand as much like language at that stage. It's just like different importances in different cultures. It all depends on the parenting and it all depends on the culture. So, yeah. They also had different processings of they also had different processings of Grandpa's death. And I'm comparing it with, this is the only time I'm going outside of Act 5. This is comparing it with, oh, thank you. This is the only time I'm getting outside of Act 5, just because Jake, when Grandma died, burned her because he didn't have the skills or time to be able to taxidermize her. Meanwhile, Jade was able to immediately taxidermize her at 6 years old. I'm saying she's 6 years old because I compared her baby sprite side by side with her 13-year-old sprite, and she was about the halfway point between her and her baby sprite. There we go. That's my evidence for that. So, more into this. She had her care patients take care of her. She could have found a positive role model with them, which could make up for the times that she spent raised alone. Oh no, I like keep fucking losing it. Is my stream recording right now? Because I would hate to have to stitch these up. Okay, it's still recording. Okay, good. So even if we explode, then I have something to put in the thing. Anyways, so basically, Vriska's a hero for forcing her to fall asleep all the damn time growing up, because that would mean that Jade gets to have lots of family time with the care patients and spend home and have independent reading time at home with Beck. Because otherwise, she wouldn't have been able to get any sort of like socialization skills. So I understand her being able to talk to people outside of that situation. But keeping this in mind, she had a robot travel along outside of her body while she was doing this. It could count as a daycare alternative schooling program, but history shows that online... Okay, I didn't write this in my notes. Let's see. So, important findings of daycare programs in childhood development is that daycare enrollment doesn't aid or impede positive relationships with peers. They may have advanced cognitive and language development, and non-parental childcare can be associated with increased behavior problems based on the kind of care offered. High-quality daycare has a positive effect on a child's intellectual development. With all this in mind, she still has to go home to an empty household and be the primary caretaker for Beck. So she could be more like a latchkey kid. So her reaction to... Okay, yeah, more on her reactions to things. I'm jumping around a lot. So this is her reaction to Dave dying. It's like, man, I was talking about this a lot. I actually didn't put anything in my notes for this. I'm so sorry. Anyways, she reacts strongly to these things. She understands death to a certain extent. But let's jump right into the final question. We are almost there. So, is she written realistically? I saved some stuff for this section because I knew that this was going to blow your minds. Jade Harley is the only one who is not written realistically for her childhood development. The reason this is because with her neglectful father, she wouldn't have been able to have the proper schooling or education to learn how to read in the way that she was able to at the age before she got a shirt. Hold on. She didn't have shirts with symbols on it when she was able to read. And she got her Jade bot when she was really young. So, yeah, and she had that little logo on there. So, after she got her Jade bot, I think there's just continuity issues, to be honest with you. Anyways, she was like really, really, really young. And at this point, she really wouldn't have been able to read. And then when Jake died, her growth would be stunted at this point. Because for one thing, the Carapacians, they did not have like a language, a like verbal language. So when she would have no sort of basis for speaking out loud with people. She would have no speaking skills, because when you don't use your language skills, you lose it. And there have been times where like children have been living out in the woods, away from society. They've lost the ability to communicate in more than like grunts and growls. Her language skills are at the average age level for 13-year-olds, but it really shouldn't be. Yeah. And, like, yeah, there's a lot to be said about, like, Carapacian sign language and stuff like that, but she verbally spoke with Dave when they met in person. She verbally spoke on, outside of that. Like, with Jade, she spoke with herself. So, oh, man. And not only that, she had to learn how to use a computer at less than 6, and they don't start teaching typing until like age 7. And you can be like, oh, iPad baby. Brother, Jade she killed her grandfather in 2002. iPads weren't invented, and there was no online accessible learning platform back then, especially for kindergarten, because the first online learning platform was from ages 11 to 18. I did research on this because I wanted to make sure that there was no possible way that Jake or Jade would be able to exist in this environment. I wanted to be completely sure. Because of Grandpa's death and the lack of a human adult figure in her life, it made her linguistic growth so it would be extremely stunted, if not lost altogether. And in addition to that, her motor skills could also not be there. And if she didn't have the ability to read as well, type as well, speak as well, she would not know as much about science as she does. She would not be able to communicate with John and Jade and all of these different people because her environment did not foster learning. Because she was an orphan being raised by a dog that could not speak, and at night she was a preschool. She was being a daycare by a bunch of people who probably taught her Carapacian sign language at most, but it didn't allow her to have the environment that would let her exist with humans. That is my thesis. Question: Jade is not written realistically, and either she should not be alive, or she was an alien in the first place. There we go. Yeah. So, like I saw in chat, it's likely that humans are not able to understand them because of the fact that, Dave thinks that the Wandering Vagabond is just not, verbal. He just sits there and does nothing. Okay. Alright, I'm gonna really quickly, if Carapacians spoke English, would that help? But they do not within the context of the story, unfortunately. They might understand English. They do understand English because they typed when they were sending messages to the kids, but they did not speak it. It's like knowing a written language but not being able to speak it, which is common. It is really common in society to be like that. So, what would they be like in my classroom? Oh boy, oops. Alright, so I'm going to start with Jade going up. So she would love art class and be engaged the whole time. So much that you would get really surprised if she says that science is way better than art. I wouldn't take offense to this at that point because not everyone's going to like what you like. And, not everyone likes art. That's just something I learned to live with. But at least she has a passion for art, and she helps drive, and that helps drive her in, doing her projects. She would always make a mess in her projects, but always clean up after herself and sing the cleanup song. So next up we have Dave. So Dave is the kind of artist who pushes the limit on what kind of content is okay for him to draw in the class. He complains so much about being able to draw dicks, and when I say, well, Dave, you can draw penises in your free time if you want, just not at school. And then he freaks out in a closeted denial while Rose gives him a look like, see, Dave, even the teacher has a basic grasp of your rampant homosexuality, and he has only known you for 12 minutes. Yeah, that actually happened. Not the Rose comment, but that dialogue about like, but dicks are just body parts, why can't I draw them? Actually happened. And I told him, you can draw dicks in your free time, just not at school. And his friends were like, oh, you're gonna draw a dick? Oh. And then he's like freaking out, like, no, it really stopped him. He did not do anything like that again. All right. For Rose, Dave would totally talk about artistic freedom on drawing dicks. Yep. And also, personally, I would be like really surprised. Like Dave in 7th grade would draw really, really nice things and then just completely switch to the Sweet Bro and Hella Jeff style. I'm like, Dave, you're doing a new style, or is this a reference to an artist I don't know about? Like, trying to be so supportive. Because that actually happened with one of my students, but, you know. All right. Oh, wait, that's my references. So, Rose, all right, would also challenge the rules in my class and be writing fan fiction in the back of the room whenever my back is turned. But personally, I couldn't complain about it because she does the work. She does really good quality artwork, too. You kind of forget that she's there, and honestly, that's kind of scary because you do end up not giving her the support that you could be giving her as a teacher. It's like the perfect student that flies under the radar. I can't give her work that challenges her because I don't notice that she's not being challenged. Like, that's like my basic insecurity about how I handle my classroom. It's always the diligent, quiet kids who always get left in the dust. Like the regular quiet kids who don't like do anything, I'm okay with. But if they're like very quietly doing watercolors and they're not like disruptive, or they're not trying to engage with me, or they're just like having a terrible time, I'm focusing on everyone but the really diligent one, the quiet, diligent one. And I'm getting emotional about Rose. All right, now, yeah, I don't want to be that. I don't want to be like that. But there's a reason for everything, and it's because a teacher sometimes has to monitor the behavior of 33 students. And it's rough. It is really rough. All right, last but not least, John. So, in my opinion, John doesn't think he's very good at art. It's like that in the comic too. And he might need a lot of support and encouragement to do projects. He would love making art based on movies he likes, so that would be a big motivation for him. He would make a short film recreating a movie scene for his independent art projects. Everyone in the Beta Kids group would help, even though Dave was calling it cringe the whole time. And yeah, he would definitely be the class clown and be he would raise his hand in the middle of sentences to interject jokes a lot, or relate lessons and lectures with movies, and then it spirals to connecting his movie with color theory to just talking about the plot of the movie. Yeah, he's very easily the depressed class clown. You'll have a moment with him where you're just like shooting his shit, and then he opens up to you about his feelings, and it is rough. It is absolutely rough. So, with that, here are my references. I used a lot more different sources than this, but these are the biggest ones that I brought forward to support my most bold claims. And yeah. So with that, I would like to let's see, we are 12 minutes older. We are 12 minutes older. We are 12 minutes over. Stream again. Oh boy. All right, my laptop does not need to be used anymore. Let's see. Got pings from there. Stream is still going. This is bigger than a school class. Listen, when you work in some lower, like, poorer school districts, like, there are less teachers per student, and especially in middle school, there's just going to be one teacher. All right, so now with that, I would like to open up the floor to anyone who has any questions. So let's see if switching over here will work. No, it's completely blank. I'm gonna go back to here. No, it's not gonna work anyways. Yeah. So this is my little, the sources, amazing panel. Thank you. This is my Q&A section. If you have anything you want to ask me about, like, my methods, any funny stories, yeah, just, I'd be willing to talk to you about them. All right. Do you ever interact with young Homestuck fans? No. No, they're all into, Demon Slayer. They're into One Piece. I have talked with a girl extensively about oh boy, it's disconnecting again. This will be backed up on a YouTube channel. I'm going to stitch the recordings I've made together so that way it actually is comprehensible. Yeah. So, more teacher psychology analysis on the students. Maybe, okay. Like on various Homestuck kids. Oh, I could do that about, I mentioned it offhand, like, that I wanted to talk about Gamzee in my notes, but I didn't actually say it because we were short on time. But, let me tell ya. Carcat would kick and scream in my class. Carcat would kick and scream in my class. The beta trolls would be so loud. I can hear it. And I would separate them so that way they wouldn't, like, try and kill each other. But they would always go back to their cliques. I'm thinking about it. It's rough. Forgot to show these. I like these eyebrows. Gamzee is the kid with the loud ass speaker in the bus. I wouldn't know what's happening on the bus. He would always show up to my class. Hi. And we would also talk about his, like, home life, neglectful, absent parent, just the same as Jake, Harley. Thank you. I appreciate that. Carcat kicking and screaming. Absolutely. And Carcat would not want to do any sort of art project, but then he would find one thing that he liked. And then even though, like, you have such a difficulty, like, teaching him, he opens up to you once and then, like, he comes to your class and he's like, okay, I had a student that, like, reminded me of Carcat in the way that I thought he hated me, but it turns out I'm, like, one of his favorite teachers. And then I went and substituted for a Spanish class at the end of the year, and she wanted me to take care of, like, okay, have them do a survey on, like, their top favorite things in class, hand it in. So this kid, he said my favorite part of class was when you substituted because I hated being here. He actually said that, and it was really funny, but I couldn't laugh because I was like, oh no, that was rude. But I wanted to laugh. As a school counseling grad student, I was practically screaming in joy the entire time. Thank you. I was afraid that I was going to ruffle some feathers. Nepotism in art class. Okay, the Warrior Cats student that I was talking about before, I told her I like Warrior Cats, and she would, like, come to me in the hallway, like, every single day, and she would be like, Mr. Taylor, and she would tell me about what she read in her Warrior Cats book, and I would be like, oh boy, wait till you get to Hollyleaf's, like, funny little moment in this book, and she's like, oh, Hollyleaf's here? And I'd be like, yeah, Hollyleaf's here. So yeah, and apparently, like, someone came to me offhand and was like, you know, she actually told me in the class that, like, me showing up for 2 weeks just made her entire year. Like, I was like, oh, really? Wow. Wow.
something interested in writing kids into Solaris. You all diagnose all the kids as reasonably developed except for Jade. Yeah, maybe I was like going a little overboard on it, like, but also I feel like I'm talking about the Wizard of Oz, like the Wicked Witch of the East, bro. Like, I feel like somebody was going to like say, like, hold on, you said that Rose was okay for being advanced, but listen, she didn't have supports. Jade does not have supports. How many characters have autism? Oh boy, oh man. So they all come from like 2 family trees. So all of the Lalons at least. And Jake, definitely. All the Lalons. Jake, definitely. Jake, yeah, Jake. Jake, definitely. How'd you find a bunch of your resources? Well, I am a graduate student right now taking my last class. I'm doing my thesis project. The trolls, I already touched on them a little bit, but I didn't do as much research on them just because they are not humans, so my human development, childhood development would not apply to them, unfortunately. If they were humans, they would have vastly different upbringings. Vriska would not need to feed a giant spider to live. She would not need to feed a giant spider. A panel again for the other set of kids. I might. Because my degree is middle and high school, so that's ages 10 to 18. That's my degree. So maybe. How do you think the kids would develop without Suburb? Well, without Suburb, Jade would literally have no resources, because she wouldn't have any of the technology that she had. Because Grandpa Jake was on the medium, and was able to get that technology back to Earth. So she would have nothing. Jade would 100% be dead. Jade would be dead, guys. Jade would be dead. Hold on. Oh, disconnected again. I always forget which was. Jade would be dead. Jade would be dead. It keeps happening. It keeps happening. Oh boy. Alright. So, I do have one more thing that I want to talk about. I will take final questions. Final questions, please. Why Jake? What's the reference there? Man, I'll Jake talk. I keep mixing up Grandpa Harley and Jake, for one thing. Let's see. Oh, it keeps happening. Is it still disconnected? Stream disconnected. Try refreshing. Okay. I'm so hot. Every time the stream has crashed, it's been on a Jake reference. Oh my gosh. What is going on with my face? I do this every single time. I'm making such a weird face right now. Hello? 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 Can I go back to the... Can I reset? Yeah, that's good enough. Are there any Homestuck single class? Nope. Baby J keep chewing on wires and disconnecting. Well, at least we're back. We are so back. Alright. So, last questions. Pretty please. I will go back and look through the questions afterwards, but, so you can find me on Tumblr at Eben Rose Taylor. It should be in my social medias below. I also have my stream Discord that's below, if you ever want to ask more questions that way. Let's see. Where did Jade get her pistol? She got it from Grandpa Harley. She was shown the joys of Hunt, and Grandpa Harley was like, "Oh, you have some fun on your own, sweetie. I'm going to fucking date my 2 dolls. I am keeping baby Jade. She is my favorite emote now. Like, yeah. All right, I'm gonna scroll up to see if there's any more questions. Let's see. Aridin being the kid you try and get into any friend group, but is all your trick. Yeah, and then you feel bad, seeing that Aridin just keeps getting pushed out of friend groups. But then you actually talk to him, and you're like, yeah, I wouldn't want to be his friend either. Let's see. This backed up. This is beautiful. My teacher did this. She goes around to every single person and offers personalized help advice, and she always skipped me because I was a lot more skilled. No. Yeah. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if there are any other panels that are happening on Twitch soon. They're happening at 5 o'clock. Okay, so, we have a, we have a Let's Make a Fan Game panel. And what I want to do is I'm going to quickly promote somebody, one of my friends. Let's see, scroll down. Yeah, I'm gonna quickly promote one of my friends before we go and raid that channel. Because, she, unfortunately, has been going through a lot of rough times living in war. And if you would be ever so kind as to, like, either share or donate to this fundraiser, I would be so grateful. She is my friend. I can vet for her. But yes, so let's raid. Let me find the URL for this. Panel reminders. Let's make a fan game. Okay, we have Let's Make a Fan Game or Beyond Carcalicious Fan Song Quiz Bowl. Like, oh wait, no, it's just Twitch. So it is just Twitch for Make a Fan Game. So a biding Spiro, whatever it is. Okay, chat. Thanks for the panel. Aw, thank you. All right, let me turn off the music and Life Can Be a Dream you guys out of here. Thank you guys for coming, and I really hope that you have a wonderful rest of your SAHCON experience. Life could be a dream. Life could be a dream. Life could be a dream. If I could take you up and oh, is it still going? That shouldn't be right. Alright, see you guys. Hello again. Shaboom and open we'll meet again. Boom. Ding dong ding dong. Lang lang lang. Oh, whoa, bip. Oh, life could be a dream. If only all my precious plans would come true. If you would let me spend my whole life loving you, life could be a dream, sweetheart. Every time I look at you,